The phone rang at 6:47 on a Tuesday morning. I was halfway through my coffee when I saw the number. Manhattan area code. I almost didn't answer. Is this Robert Hayes? Speaking. Mr. Hayes, this is Victoria Chen from Morrison & Associates. I'm calling regarding the estate of Marcus Hayes. We need you at our office this Thursday at 2 p.m. for the reading of his will. My hand tightened around the phone. Marcus, my former brother-in-law. The man who'd stood at Patricia's funeral 3 years ago and wouldn't even look at me when I tried to pay my respects from the back of the church. I think you have the wrong person, I said. Marcus and I haven't spoken in 20 years. I have the correct Robert Hayes, formerly of Hayes & Associates Financial Services. Current address, 2847 Riverside Drive, apartment 4B. Her voice was professional, patient. That's me, but then you're the right person, Mr. Hayes. I understand this may come as a surprise. Mr. Hayes left specific instructions that you be present. The address is 500 Park Avenue, 23rd floor. Do you need me to email you directions? I looked around my cramped studio apartment. The walls were thin enough that I could hear my neighbor's morning news program. 20 years ago, I'd lived in a house in Westchester with a pool and a 3-car garage. Now I took the bus to my job managing a hardware store in Queens. Mr. Hayes, I'll be there, I said. I hung up and sat there for a long moment, staring at nothing. Marcus had been Patricia's younger brother, 15 years younger, to be exact. When Patty and I got married, Marcus was just a kid. I'd taught him how to tie a tie for his high school graduation, helped him with his college essays, watched him become a successful investment banker while I was in prison. And then I'd watched him hate me for what I'd supposedly done to his sister. The coffee had gone cold. I poured it down the sink and started getting ready for work. Thursday was 2 days away. 2 days to prepare myself for whatever this was. 2 days to prepare for seeing Jennifer, my daughter, 32 years old now, a corporate lawyer, married to a good man named David, mother to my granddaughter Emma, who I'd only seen in photos on social media. Emma was 5 years old, and she didn't know I existed. I pulled up Jennifer's Facebook page on my ancient laptop. It was set to private, but her profile picture was public. Her, David, and Emma at the beach last summer. Emma had Patricia's eyes and Jennifer's smile. My daughter looked happy, successful, everything I'd wanted for her. She hadn't spoken to me since the trial. Thursday arrived faster than I wanted it to. I put on my one good suit, the same one I wore to job interviews and Patricia's funeral. It was getting a little tight around the middle. I took the subway into Manhattan and walked the last few blocks, arriving at 500 Park Avenue at 1:45. The building was all glass and steel, the kind of place where people make decisions that move millions of dollars with a signature. I checked in at the security desk and rode the elevator to the 23rd floor. My reflection in the polished doors showed an old man, gray hair, lines around my eyes, hands that shook just slightly. I was 62, but I felt 80. The receptionist showed me to a conference room, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park, a long mahogany table that probably cost more than I made in a year. And sitting at one end of that table was Jennifer. She looked up when I walked in, and her face went cold. "What is he doing here?" she said to the woman next to her, Victoria Chen. I assumed. "Miss Hayes, as I explained on the phone, your uncle's will specifically names Mr. Hayes as a beneficiary." "That's impossible. Uncle Marcus wouldn't." Jennifer stood up, gathering her things. "I'm not doing this. I'm not sitting in the same room as him." "Jennifer," I said quietly. "Don't." She pointed at me, her hand trembling. "Don't you dare say my name. You don't get to say my name." Victoria Chen stepped between us. "Miss Hayes, I understand this is difficult, but your uncle was very explicit in his wishes. He recorded a video message specifically requesting that both of you watch it together. If you leave now, you'll forfeit your portion of the estate." Jennifer's jaw tightened. She looked at me with 20 years of rage in her eyes. "How much?" "I'm not at liberty to discuss the specifics until after the video, but I can tell you that your uncle's estate is valued at approximately $18 million. The number hung in the air. Jennifer slowly sat back down, as far from me as the table allowed. I took a seat near the door, giving her space. Victoria dimmed the lights and activated a screen at the end of the room. Marcus appeared, sitting in what looked like a home office. He looked thin, tired. This must have been recorded not long before he died. The cancer had taken him fast 6 weeks from diagnosis to death. "Jennifer, Rob," Marcus said, and the sound of his voice hit me like a punch. "If you're watching this, I'm gone, and it's time you both knew the truth about what happened 20 years ago." Jennifer's knuckles were white as she gripped the edge of the table. "Rob," Marcus continued, "I owe you an apology that's 2 decades overdue. And Jennifer, you need to hear something about your father that your mother and I kept from you." The screen flickered, and Marcus took a visible breath. "The truth is, Rob didn't steal from Hayes and Associates. He didn't embezzle a cent. Your mother did." I closed my eyes. After 20 years of carrying this secret, hearing someone else say it out loud felt surreal. "Jennifer, I need you to listen carefully. Your mother was sick. Not cancer sick that came later. She had a gambling addiction that none of us knew about until it was too late." On screen, Marcus pulled out a folder. 3 years ago, when your mother was dying, she gave me this, her confession. She made me promise to keep it sealed until after I died. She couldn't face telling you herself. She was ashamed. And she was afraid of losing you. The video showed Marcus opening the folder. In the spring of 2005, Patricia began gambling online. It started small, $50 here, $100 there. But within 6 months, she was betting thousands. She was convinced she could win it back. She kept telling herself just one more bet, just one more win, and she'd stop. I remembered that spring, the way Patricia had become distant, the way she'd started picking fights over nothing. I thought we were just going through a rough patch. Every marriage has them, right? By December of 2005, Marcus said, your mother had drained your family's savings, nearly $200,000. She panicked. The business account for Hayes and Associates was in both her and Rob's names. She had access. She started taking money from there, planning to replace it before anyone noticed. The conference room was completely silent, except for Marcus's voice. But she couldn't stop. Every loss made her more desperate to win it back. By March of 2006, she'd taken over $400,000 from the business. The money that was supposed to cover payroll, taxes, vendor payments. The money that clients had entrusted to Rob's financial planning firm. I opened my eyes and looked at Jennifer. She was staring at the screen, her face pale. Rob discovered it in April. I remember the day because Patricia called me, hysterical. She was at the house, and Rob had just come home early from work. He'd found the bank statements she'd been hiding. The video cut to Marcus reading from what looked like handwritten pages. These are Patricia's words, written 6 weeks before she died. She wanted you to know what happened next, Jennifer. She wrote, Robert found me in our bedroom. I'd been crying for hours. I told him everything, every bet, every loss, every lie. He asked me how much, and when I told him, I watched something break in his eyes. Not anger, worse than anger, disappointment. My hands were shaking. I put them in my lap where Jennifer couldn't see. He asked me why, Marcus continued reading. Why? I'd destroyed everything we'd built, and I couldn't answer him. I couldn't explain the compulsion, the desperate need to just keep playing, the absolute certainty that the next bet would fix everything. I just kept saying, I was sorry. I said it so many times it stopped meaning anything. Marcus set the pages down. Rob, do you want to tell the rest, or should I? But the video Marcus was talking to wasn't me. A moment later, I realized he'd recorded this in segments. The video jumped forward, and Marcus was still alone. Rob told Patricia that he was going to the police, that he had to. The money was gone, and clients were starting to ask questions. The business was going to collapse, and there would be an investigation. Criminal charges were inevitable. I remembered that conversation. The way Patricia's face had crumbled. The way she'd grabbed my arm and said, Please, please, Robert, Jennifer. Marcus's voice pulled me back to the present. Patricia broke down. She told Rob she'd kill herself if this came out, that she couldn't live with Jennifer knowing what she'd done. Jennifer was 12 years old then, a kid, starting to understand the world but still young enough to believe her parents were perfect. The video showed Marcus's eyes getting red. And then Patricia said something that changed everything. She said, "If you love me, if you ever loved our daughter, you'll take the blame. The money's gone either way. The business is gone. But Jennifer doesn't have to lose both of us. She doesn't have to know her mother is a gambling addict who destroyed everything. Let her think it was you. Let her hate you instead of me." Jennifer made a small sound. I looked over, and she had her hand over her mouth. "Rob, I don't know how you had the strength to agree to that, but you did. Patricia told me everything the night before your arraignment. She called me at 2 a.m., drunk, sobbing. She said you'd met with a lawyer, and you were going to plead guilty. You were going to say you'd embezzled the money for investments that went bad. You were going to say you'd been hiding the losses and tried to cover them up with client funds. The number had actually been $430,000. The prosecutor had called me a con man, said I'd betrayed the trust of 23 families who'd relied on me to protect their retirement savings. Some of them had been my friends. The DA offered you a deal," Marcus said, 7 years with possibility of parole in 5, if you cooperated and helped them recover any remaining assets. You took it. You pleaded guilty to embezzlement and fraud. You didn't fight it. You didn't defend yourself. You let everyone believe you were a thief. I served 6 years. Got out early for good behavior. The judge asked you if you had anything to say before sentencing. I was there in the courtroom. Patricia was there. Jennifer was there. Do you remember what you said? I did. I'd looked at Patricia and Jennifer in the gallery. Jennifer had been crying. Patricia had her arm around our daughter. They'd looked like victims. I'd looked like a monster. You said, "I'm sorry to everyone I hurt. I take full responsibility for my actions. I just want my daughter to be okay." Marcus's voice cracked. "And then they took you away." Patricia got custody. She got the house at least until she had to sell it to pay restitution. She got to be the wronged wife, the victim, the brave single mother, and you got 6 years in prison. The video showed Marcus wiping his eyes. "Patricia made me promise not to tell anyone while she was alive. She said Jennifer was fragile, that the truth would destroy her. But I watched what it did to you, Rob. I watched you come to Jennifer's high school graduation and sit in the back, and I watched her refuse to even acknowledge you were there. I watched you at Patricia's funeral, standing in the rain, and nobody would talk to you." He took a shaky breath. 3 years ago, when Patricia was dying, she gave me her confession and made me promise to make it right after she was gone. She said, "I can't fix what I did to Robert, but maybe after I'm dead you can give him back his daughter. I was supposed to tell you right away, Jennifer, but I was a coward. I couldn't face you. I couldn't face destroying your memory of your mother." Jennifer was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. "But then 6 months ago, I got my own diagnosis, stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and I realized I was about to do to Rob what Patricia did die before making things right. So I'm telling you now, Jennifer, everything you believe about your father is a lie. He didn't betray you. He saved you." Marcus leaned forward, his face filling the screen. "Rob took the fall so you wouldn't have to know your mother was an addict. So you wouldn't have to live with the shame and confusion of having a parent with a disease like that. So you could grow up with one parent you could trust and believe in. He gave up everything, his freedom, his reputation, his relationship with you so you could have a normal childhood." The video paused for a moment, then continued. "Rob, I'm leaving you $9 million. It's not enough. It's not even close to enough. But it's what I can do. Jennifer, I'm leaving you $9 million as well, with one condition: that you listen to this entire video and that you consider, really consider, who your father actually is." Marcus pulled out another envelope. "Patricia wrote you a letter, Jennifer. She never sent it because she didn't have the courage. I'm going to read it to you now." He opened the envelope with shaking hands. "Dear Jenny," he began, and I saw Jennifer flinch at the old nickname. "If Marcus is reading this to you, then I'm gone, and you're finally learning the truth about what happened in 2006. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't forgive myself. But I need you to understand something about your father. The night Robert agreed to take the blame, We sat at the kitchen table until 4 a.m., talking through every detail. He asked me one question over and over. Are you absolutely sure this is what you want? Can you live with this? And I kept saying yes because I was selfish and scared, and I didn't want to lose you. But Robert asked me something else that night. He said, if I do this, you have to promise me something. You have to be the best mother you can be. You have to give Jennifer everything. You have to make this sacrifice worth it. And I promised. I swore on everything I had that I would make it right by being the mother you deserved. I tried, Jenny. I really tried. I stayed sober from gambling. I got therapy. I was at every school play, every soccer game, every parent-teacher conference. I helped you with college applications. I walked you down the aisle at your wedding. I was there when Emma was born. And every single time, I thought about the fact that I got to have those moments because Robert gave them to me. He gave up 6 years in prison so I could have 6 years of being your mother without you looking at me with disgust or pity. He gave up his entire life so you could grow up believing your mother was strong and honest and good. The truth is, I'm weak. I was always weak. But your father is the strongest man I've ever known. Marcus folded the letter. There's more, but the rest is personal details about Patricia's struggle with addiction and her regrets. The important part is this. Jennifer, your father is innocent. He's always been innocent. And I kept that from you for 3 years because I was a coward just like Patricia. I'm sorry. The video ended. The lights came up slowly. I couldn't look at Jennifer. I stared at my hands and waited for her to say something. Anything. The silence stretched on for what felt like hours, but was probably only a minute. Is it true? Jennifer's voice was small, broken. All of it? I finally looked at her. Her mascara was running. Her hands were shaking. She looked like she had when she was 12, and came to me after having a nightmare. Yes, I said. Why didn't you fight it? Why didn't you tell me? Because your mother was sick, and you needed her. Because you were 12, and that's too young to understand addiction. Because my voice cracked. Because I'd rather you hate me than lose both of us. I called you a thief. She was crying harder now. At Mom's funeral, when you tried to talk to me, I told you that you weren't welcome. I told you that you didn't deserve to be there. I know. And you just took it. You didn't defend yourself. What was I going to say, Jennifer? Your mother's dead. What good would the truth have done? She stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. I have to go. I can't. I need to. She grabbed her purse and headed for the door. Jennifer, I said. She stopped, her hand on the doorknob, but didn't turn around. Your mother loved you very much. She wasn't perfect, but she tried her best after I went away. Don't let this change how you remember her. Jennifer's shoulders shook. Then she yanked open the door and left. Victoria Chen cleared her throat softly. Mr. Hayes, I have paperwork for you to sign. The transfer of funds will take a few weeks to process. But I don't want it, I said. I'm sorry? The money. I don't want it. Mr. Hayes, it's $9 million. Put it in a trust for my granddaughter, for Emma, for her education, her future, whatever she needs. Victoria looked at me carefully. That's very generous. But Mr. Hayes, this money is meant for you. Marcus wanted you to have it. Marcus wanted me to have my daughter back. The money doesn't do that. I stood up, set up the trust. Make Jennifer the trustee, if she'll accept it. Make sure Emma never has to worry about college, or a house, or anything. That's what Marcus would have wanted anyway. I signed the papers Victoria put in front of me. Legal documents transferring my inheritance to a trust in Emma's name. Then I left the office and took the subway back to Queens. 3 weeks passed. I didn't hear from Jennifer. I went to work at the hardware store, came home to my apartment, made my dinner, watched the news. The same routine I'd had for 6 years. Then one Saturday morning, there was a knock on my door. I opened it, and Jennifer was standing there. She looked exhausted. Her eyes were red-rimmed like she'd been crying recently. "Can I come in?" she asked. Of course. I stepped aside, suddenly embarrassed by my cramped apartment with its second-hand furniture and dingy carpet. It's not much. You've been living here for 6 years? 8. I moved here after I got out of prison. She looked around slowly, taking in the small efficiency kitchen, the fold-out couch that served as my bed, the single window that looked out onto an alley. "I live in a brownstone in Brooklyn," she said quietly. 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. David and I bought it 3 years ago, right after Mom died and left me her life insurance money. I didn't say anything. I used the money that you made possible. Mom only had life insurance because you took the fall, and she kept her reputation, her credit, her ability to work. If the truth had come out, she would have been unemployable. We would have lost everything. Jennifer, I'm not finished. She turned to face me, tears streaming down her face. For 20 years, I thought you were a criminal. I thought you were selfish and greedy. I thought you destroyed our family for money, and I hated you for it. I know, but you were just trying to protect me. I was trying to protect both of you. I have a daughter now." Jennifer pulled out her phone and showed me a photo. Emma grinning at the camera, missing her 2 front teeth. "She's 5. She's smart and funny, and she asks a million questions about everything. And every day, I think about what I would do to protect her, what I would sacrifice to keep her safe and happy." She looked up at me, and I understand now. I understand why you did it. If someone told me I had to choose between going to prison and letting Emma grow up thinking I was a criminal or telling her a truth that would devastate her, I'd choose prison, every time. Without hesitation, I couldn't speak. My throat was too tight. "Victoria told me what you did with the money. The trust for Emma. It's Marcus's money. It should go to someone who needs it. You need it, Dad." The word hit me like a physical blow. She hadn't called me Dad in 20 years. "You've been living in this apartment, working at a hardware store, because you gave up everything for us. For me. I don't need much." "Yes, you do." She wiped her eyes. "You deserve to have a real home. You deserve to not worry about money. You deserve," her voice broke, "you deserve to know your granddaughter." I sat down heavily on the couch. "Jennifer, I don't expect anything from you. I don't expect forgiveness or—" "Stop it." She sat next to me. "Stop acting like you don't deserve good things. Stop acting like you deserve to be punished for something you didn't do. I lost 20 years with you. I missed your high school graduation, your college graduation, your wedding. I missed Emma's birth, her first words, her first steps. I can't get those back. No, you can't. But you can be there for what comes next." She took a shaky breath. If you want to meet your granddaughter, if you want to, try again. With me." I looked at her, this woman who was my daughter but also a stranger. "What did you tell Emma about me?" I told her that I had a misunderstanding with my dad a long time ago, that I thought he did something bad, but I was wrong. And I asked her if she'd like to meet her grandpa. What did she say? Jennifer smiled through her tears. She asked if you were the kind of grandpa who gives hugs or the kind who gives high fives. I told her I thought you were probably both. I started crying then. The kind of crying I hadn't done in 20 years. The kind that empties out everything you've been holding inside. Jennifer put her arms around me, and we sat there in my tiny apartment, 2 people trying to figure out how to rebuild something that had been broken for 2 decades. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry I didn't believe in you. I'm sorry I was cruel. I'm sorry I wasted so much time." "You have nothing to be sorry for. You were a kid. You believed what you were told. I should have given you a chance to explain. I wouldn't have told you the truth. Not while your mother was alive." She pulled back and looked at me. "Why not?" "Because she was still your mother. Because addiction is a disease, not a moral failing. Because she worked hard to be a good parent to you after I left, and she deserved to be remembered that way." Jennifer shook her head in wonder. "Even now, even after everything, you're still protecting her. I loved your mother. Her illness didn't change that, and she loved you more than anything." We talked for hours that day. I told her about prison, about the years after, about the quiet life I'd built. She told me about law school, about meeting David, about Emma's personality and quirks. We didn't fix 20 years of distance in one afternoon, but we started. The following Saturday, I met Emma. Jennifer brought her to a playground in Central Park. Emma ran up to me with no hesitation. "Are you Grandpa Rob?" she asked. "I am. Mom says you've been away for a long time, but you're back now." "That's right." She studied me carefully. "Do you like swings?" "I do." "Good. You can push me." She grabbed my hand and pulled me toward the playground. I looked back at Jennifer, who was crying again. She nodded at me, encouraging. Emma chattered the whole time I pushed her on the swing. She told me about her kindergarten teacher, about her best friend Zoe, about the cat she wanted but her mom said no to. She asked me if I had any pets, where I lived, what my favorite color was. I answered every question, marveling at this little person who was my granddaughter. She had Patricia's eyes, Jennifer's smile, and apparently my habit of asking questions about everything. When it was time to go, Emma hugged me tight. "Can you come to my birthday party next month?" "I'm going to be 6. "I'd love to." "It's a princess party. You have to wear a crown." "I can do that." She grinned and ran back to Jennifer. I watched them walk away, Emma skipping ahead while Jennifer turned back to wave at me. I sat on the park bench for a long time after they left, watching other families play. For the first time in 20 years, I felt like maybe, just maybe, I was part of a family again. 6 months later, Jennifer and David bought a 2-family home in Brooklyn and asked me to move into the ground floor apartment. I protested, but they insisted. Emma was thrilled to have me nearby. Victoria Chen called to tell me about the Emma Hayes Foundation for Children of Parents with Addiction. Jennifer had decided to use part of Marcus's money to help other families struggling with what ours had gone through. The foundation would provide counseling, support groups, and financial assistance. "Your daughter wanted you to know," Victoria said, "that she's naming you as co-founder. She said the foundation exists because of your sacrifice, and your name should be on it." I started crying again. I seem to do that a lot these days. Emma comes over for breakfast every Sunday now. She's 6.5, and she's teaching me to play chess. I'm not very good at it yet, but she's patient with me. Last week, she asked me to come to career day at her school. "What would I talk about?" I asked. "You can talk about working at the hardware store, how you help people fix things." I thought about it. I think I know how to fix things. It took me a long time to learn, but I think I finally figured it out. Jennifer squeezes my shoulder every time she sees me, like she's checking to make sure I'm real. We have dinner together twice a week. She calls me just to talk. David shakes my hand and tells me I'm welcome anytime. I still live simply. I still work at the hardware store, though Jennifer's been trying to convince me to retire. The money from the trust generates enough income that I don't need to work, but I like having somewhere to go, something to do. Besides, I help people there. Yesterday, a young father came in looking for parts to fix his daughter's bike. We spent 20 minutes finding the right pieces, and when he left, he thanked me 3 times. "You're welcome," I told him. "Take care of that daughter of yours. They grow up fast." He smiled and promised he would. I lock up the store and take the subway home to Brooklyn. Emma's waiting on the stoop with a new library book. She wants me to read it to her before bed. "Did you have a good day at work, Grandpa?" she asks. "I did, sweetheart. I helped fix a bike for someone's daughter." "That's good. Fixing things is important." I smile and take her hand. "Yeah, kiddo, it really is." We go inside together, and I think about Marcus's video, about the truth finally coming out after 20 years, about second chances and the long road to forgiveness. I think about my daughter, who lost her father for 2 decades but found him again. About my granddaughter, who never knew me but welcomed me into her life without hesitation. About the family I thought I'd lost forever but somehow got back. The money doesn't matter. The years I lost don't matter. What matters is this: Emma's hand in mine, Jennifer's smile when she sees me, the feeling of finally being home. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is letting them believe you're the villain. And sometimes, if you're lucky, the truth finds its way out eventually. I was lucky.